Good day everyone. Praise be Jesus and Mary, now and forever. I am Prithz Lecias.
I am Rennae Gabrielle P. Patarata.
I am April Grace Divine L. Vernante.
I am Bernadeth Magwilang.
I am Averie Leighlah L. Dela Cuesta.
I am Brianna Vanesse Escaño.
And I am Shanara Angelique Cavan, and we are the Group 3. And today, we are going to discuss to you the last branch of the Philippine government, which is also called the Judicial Branch of the government. Okay, so for our learning objectives now, so we as the reporters want you guys to identify and describe the judicial branch of the Philippines and how it primarily works, or how it works in general. And then second, we want you to understand the roles as well as the significance kung unsa ka importante ang mga nasa under sa judicial branch. And then most importantly, since our main source man kay itong article from the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, which is our constitution today, Article 8 with 16 sections, and that is all about the judicial branch. So we want you to familiarize it aron mas sabtan ninyo maayo. Okay, now so before ta ninyo mag-proceed sa formal na discussion, natay gamay nga pa-drill, which is very dali lang pod. So this is called the true or false game. This is in order to test your prior knowledge. So kani number 1, you can get arrested for not wearing or carrying an ID. So is it true or is it false? It is false. So ang explanation is yes, you should have your ID, but it is not necessary to bring it with you always. But na yung mga instances na kinahanglan siya for verification. For example, driver ka and then need i-check sa police ang imong driver's license. So, nginanang instances di siya. But, dili pasabot nga wala na nimo nadala karon nga adlaw kay maaresto na ka. So, the answer for this question is false. And then now, let's proceed sa next question, which also means na pwede daw ang mga evidence gikan sa Facebook Messenger, like mga conversations, screenshots, pwede siya magamit as ebidensya laban sa kaso nimo. So is it true or is it false? Yes, it is true, So when it comes to evidences from Facebook Messenger acquired by individuals or private individuals, like specific example mga screenshots sa convo, pwede siya as long as kana siya is properly authenticated, meaning unfiltered siya and then wala siya gi-manipulate, and then it is also relevant sa kaso. Pero mga reporters, di ba naman tayo ginaingon nga Data Privacy Act, so gilabag na nila na siya nga act kay ila magi-expose ang kanang inana nga type of conversations. Yes, natay inana nga klase of act, but as nakaingon diriya sa explanation nga kanang when it is used to establish if liable ba ang criminal or dili, then it is possible to be used as evidence. Okay, so kuman naman ta sa atong mga pa-drill, so without further ado, let us now formally proceed jud sa atong topic. So mga tanang mo, usa jud pag kanang ginatawag nato nga judicial branch, what is that all about? So di ba pag makadungog ta ginana kay ang first impression dyan kay korte, trial, kaso, kani guilty ka, kani innocent ka. That is correct. Pero ang ang main point dyan basta kanang judicial branch, which is kainon sa DIREA, it is the part again of the Philippine government that interprets laws and then settles disputes and make sure the constitution is followed. So sila ang ga-evaluate ba sa mga mga law. Sila ang gatan-aw kung kani nga law, kani nga newly approved law kay ni-follow ba ni siya sa constitution, valid ba ni siya, ug legal ba ni siya. If not, then it can undergo, that particular law can undergo replacement or ma-replace siya or like mailisan. So, ganun po siya. Naka-state diri na according to the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, Article 8, there are 16 sections that make up the judicial department. So, isa-isa ho na mo siya explain na sa inyo ha. And then, to start off with the section 1 and 2, I will give the floor to Prithz A.
Section 1. What is Section 1? Judicial powers given to the Supreme Court and other lower courts that are created by the law. This means that the court have the authority to resolve real life involving people's rights, especially when someone's legal rights are violated or not fulfilled. And also, the court have the duty to make sure that the government official or agent don't abuse their power. And this means that the court can decide who is wrong and right. They make sure that the law is followed and that the people get the justice they deserve. For example, na isa ka journalism nga nag-wrote siya or nagbuhat siya news about i-criticize niya ang government tungod sa gibuhat sa government. Tapos, nakabasa ato, ang katong nakabasa kay ilang gifailan og kaso si journalist. So, maoto si journalist kay nag-complain siya about ana. So, diha na nisulod si judicial power. Si judicial power kay sila ang nagatanaw if guilty ba isa ka tao or not guilty. So, nakita nila dito ang gi-violate nila si journalism, i-violate nila ang iyang freedom. So, they decided nga pagawason na lang si journalist kay dili man siya guilty. And also, for the Section 2, it's about, this means that the Congress has the power to decide what kind of cases each court can handle, but they cannot take away the Supreme Court's power over important cases listed in Section 5 Constitution. And also, laws cannot be changed. The court system. This means that the court has, or this means that the Congress has the power to decide what kind of cases each court can hear. However, it cannot remove or limit the Supreme Court authority over important cases stated in Section 5 and Constitution. For example, if a Congress passes a law saying the Supreme Court can no longer hear cases about human rights that wouldn't violate the Constitution, the Supreme Court will still have the final authority over cases listed in Section 5, such as reviewing laws or deciding issues related to the Constitution.
Thank you, Prithz. So now, let's proceed to Section 3. So Section 3 is the fiscal autonomy of the judiciary. So the judiciary courts, especially the Supreme Court, is financially independent from other branches of government. So to explain it further is like kini is para like ma-protect ang judiciary gikan sa political pressure or control sa legislative o executive branches. Kay ang money pwede gamiton siya as a tool para manipulate ang power. Mao nga kini nga protection is like ma-ensure nga ang mga judges is like maka-decide fairly o independently. Bisan pa kung against ni sa mga powerful politicians. Example ani is like, imagine nga naay case nga ang Supreme Court is kailangan mo investigate og corruption nga involve ang mga lawmakers. Kung pwede pa unta nga i-cut sa Congress ang ilang budget, maybe gamiton nila as a threat or like unsa-unsa pa dira. Example na ana is like giingon sa Congress na stop this investigation or we'll cut your funding next year. So like tungod sa Section 3, dili mahimo sa Congress or like sa ang judiciary budget dapat is like equal or mas taas kaysa sa previous year. O like kinahanglan nga i-release ni on time. So like Section 3 also says that judiciary has budget protection so it can remain independent. Meaning, Dili basta-basta maapektuhan ang budget sa korte bisan pa og naay political pressure because it ensures nga ang mga hukom is makadecide based only on the law, dili tungod sa threat or sa budget cut. So next is section 4, the composition and operation of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is made up of 15 justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 14 associate justices. It can decide cases as a whole group or like en banc or divide it into smaller group or like divisions of 3, 5, or 7 justices depending on the case. If a justice retires, dies, or leaves, their vacant position must be filled within 90 days. So for section 4, it explains nga ang Supreme Court is like, ang ibalikon is like made up of 15 justices with 1 Chief Justice and 14 associate justices. They can work as a whole group or like en banc or in a smaller divisions of 3, 5, or 7 depending sa case. Like for example, if gamay ra nga kaso like land dispute, 3 justices lang ang mo handle para like mapaspas ang process. Pero kung dako og national issue like questioning the constitutional of law, tanan 15 ka justices is like mag-uban sa isa ka community like maggatapok sila. So example na is like in 2018, the Supreme Court ruled en banc in oaths then Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno through a quoranto petition, a very controversial and significant case. So the case that was filed against Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno it's the 2018 Supreme Court case where Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno was removed from office through a quoranto petition for allegedly not submitting all her required SALNs before her appointment. SALN means that statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. So it is a document that government officials in the Philippines must file every year to declare. So for assets, it is the like everything na ilang murag pang own. Example na is like cash, properties, vehicles, investments, and etc. For liabilities, like mga everything na like they owe, like loans or debts, like ila dapat nang i-calculate para like ano nila tong SALNS. And lastly is net worth or the asset minus liabilities. Like murag gi-combine ang assets and liabilities then ang katong murag ang subtraction ato is moto ilang net worth. Dapat murag i-combine nila to tanan para murag dapat manggod na murag mabuhat sa document so that murag dilis na mahawa sa ilahang terno or like sa ilahang trabaho. Because it is required by the law to promote transparency and prevent corruption. Sa section 4 is kanang if naay vacant seat tungod sa retirement or like pagkamatay or like resignation, like needed yun na like mapuno siya within 90 days. Dapat mapulihan na yun siya within 90 days. Example is like when Chief Justice De Castro retired, President Duterte appointed a new Chief Justice within that time frame. Because ang rule magod is to make sure nga walay delay sa paghatag og justice. Because dapat kutahan mag-retire ka ng within the day, before dapat sa 90 days is like mapulihan dayon within that time frame kay kanang para like mapaspas or like dili dapat ma-delay ang paghatag sa mga justice. So let's proceed to incumbent justices. But first, let's talk about Chief Justice, the first Chief Justice, because we only have one Chief Justice. Incumbent justices is the Chief Justice Alexander G. Gismundo or Gismundo. So, his background was he earned his law degree from Ateneo de Manila University in 1984, passed the bar in 1985, and began his government career as a trial attorney at the Office of the Solicitor General, then later becoming an Assistant Solicitor General and served as a commissioner at the PCGG and appointed to the Sandigan Bayan in 2005 and to the Supreme Court in 2017 and elevated to Chief Justice in April 2021. and his birthday was on November 6, 1956, and his birthplace was San Pablo City, Laguna. So to add things up about Chief Justice Alexander, he voted to remove Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno via Quorum, and he voted in favor of the temporary closure of Boracay, supported martial law extension in Mindanao, and upheld Leighlah de Lima's arrest and non-disclosure of Duterte's health records. Next is Justice Marvic MVF Leonen. Born on December 29, 1962, a former UP Law Dean and Government Peace Negotiator, and appointed to the Supreme Court in 2012, and known for his concurring opinion in the PDAF case and decision in Tan Andaval v. Andal. Next is Justice Alfredo Benjamin S. Cacuega. Born on September 13, 1959, a former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel and Justice Secretary, and appointed to the Supreme Court in 2016. Next is Justice Ramon Paul L. Hernando. Born on August 27, 1966, a former prosecutor, a judge, and a Court of Appeals justice, and was appointed in 2018. Next is Justice Ami C. Lazaro Javier. Born on November 16, 1956, a former Assistant Solicitor General and Court of Appeals justice, chairs the Family Courts Committee, and was appointed in 2019. Next is Justice Henry Jean Paul B. Inting. Born on September 4, 1957, a former public attorney, a judge, and a Court of Appeals justice, and he is a first Boholano Supreme Court justice and was appointed in 2019. Next is Justice Rodel V. Zalameda. Born on August 2, 1963, a former Makati prosecutor and Court of Appeals justice, and was appointed in 2019. Next is Justice Samuel H. Gerlan. Born on December 19, 1958, a former RTC judge and Court of Appeals justice, and was appointed in 2020. Is Justice Ricardo R. Rosario. Born on August 15, 1958, a former Quezon City prosecutor and Court of Appeals justice, appointed in 2020 as well. Next is Justice Joseph Y. Lopez. Born on February 8, 1963, a former Manila prosecutor, a Quezon City judge, and Court of Appeals justice, and was appointed in 2021. Next is Justin Hapar or Japar B. Dimaampao. Born on December 27, 1963, an expert in commercial and taxation law, a first Muslim Supreme Court justice in over a decade, and was appointed in 2001 as well. Next is Justice Jose Midas P. Marquez. Born on February 16, 1966, a former Supreme Court administrador and spokesperson, and was appointed in 2021. Next is Justice Antonio T. Co. Jr., born on June 19, 1966, a former COMELEC commissioner and law professor, and was appointed in 2022. Justice Maria Filomena D. Singh. Born on June 25, 1966, a former RTC and Court of Appeals justice, and was appointed in 2022 as well. Next is Justice Raul B. Villanueva. Born on June 10, 1964, a former RTC judge and executive judge, and was appointed in 2024.
Okay, so thank you so much, Rennae, na, for sharing that knowledge about sa Section 3 and then sa Section 4. So now, let us proceed na sa Section 5, which is all about the powers of the Supreme Court. So, kani siya, according to diri ang nasa PPT, kay simplified version lang man na siya, but I am going to explain it to you in a detailed way. So, mamina ang all. So, diri ang Supreme Court maka-exercise sila of original jurisdiction over cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, and over petitions for certiorari, prohibition, mandamus, quo warranto, and habeas corpus. So in simple terms lang no, na ay original jurisdiction ang Supreme Court. So when we say original jurisdiction manggod, the word original, like sila ang first, na sila first access, like pwede na sila karapatan na sila ang unang makadungog ani first nga mga types of kaso, which is akong gi-mention earlier. And then when we say sa mga familiar words, when we say certiorari, it means kana na aside from original jurisdiction manggod, na po tayo ginatawag na appellate or jurisdiction, wherein napo na siya sa Supreme Court o ilan ng karapatan nga ma-review kung unsang ginahimo sa lower courts. Pwede man ninyo, ang original jurisdiction kay both na siya naa sa Supreme Court o sa lower court. And when we say mandamus, no, isa na siya kang babala sa isa ka, for example, public official kay kunahay ang kana nga public official na neglect niya ang iyahang duties. So naay mahitabo nga mandamus towards sa iyaha kay pag naman maka-receive og mandamus, it means na you are not doing your job, you are neglecting it, so you should do it properly. And when we say quo warranto, isa na siya ka legal processing no, na can be used against a public official, which is mura na siya kanang dili mura, kanang ga-ask jud siya sa kanang public official na by what authority or by what grounds do you think you deserve that kind of position. Kay kunuhay, let's say nga kani siya nga public official kay naabuso nga law, so naay masad nga quo warranto sa iya, mura siya pangutana ba nga kanang deserve jud ba nimo na nga position kay I don't think you are doing it right. So ganyan siya. And then the last one is the habeas corpus, which is na-discuss na jud na nato no sa katong junior high pata. It is the right for the criminal or the suspect nga kanang mo adto sa siya una sa korte before siya ipakulong in order for his or her protection. So ganyan siya. And then di ba nag-ingon man pug ko nga ang Supreme Court maka-review sa kung unsa ang ginahimo sa lower courts. So kani nga type of statement na ako pasabot na ko ani, pwede nila ma-review if ang instances sa lower court kay kani. Number 1, if ang constitutionality or validity of any treaty, international or executive agreement, law, presidential decree, proclamation, order, instruction, ordinance is in question. So pwede nila ma-review kung ang kaninga kaso kay gina-question ba kung valid ba jud ang constitution, valid ba jud ang isa ka treaty, or valid ba jud ang isa ka law. So bali murag sa tinamban pa kung sila nga unsa man nga kaso, unsa niya all about, question kung kaninga law kay right ba jud or dili. Hala, sige tara i-check nato, mura siya ginana. And then the next instances kay pwede ma-check po nila or ma-review nila or ma-reaffirm ang mga cases involving the legality of any tax imposed, assessment, or toll, or any penalty imposed in relation thereto. And then the next one is all cases in which the jurisdiction of any lower court is in issue. And the next one is all criminal cases in which the penalty imposed is reclusion perpetua or higher. So maka-check sila cases wherein ang penalty nga nahatag is a criminal kay reclusion perpetua, meaning life imprisonment or even higher. So tanan nila nga sige daw i-check daw nato kung lawful ba jud siya, kanang based on law ba jud siya, constitutional ba jud siya, or nana. And then pwede sad sila mag-assign of judges temporarily gikan sa lower courts ha to other stations. Kunay sa lower court no, na judge diri, si assign ta ka diri nga station. Pero it must not exist, it must not exist 6 months without the consent of the judge concerned. And then the next power no kay pwede sila mag-change of venue or place of trial to avoid a miscarriage of justice. And then the last one, pwede sila mag-promulgate of rules concerning the protection and enforcement of constitutional rights, pleading, practice, and procedure in all courts, the admission to the practice of law, the integrated bar, and legal assistance to the underprivileged. Okay, so napaday dungag. Maka-appoint pud silang officials and employees of the judiciary in accordance with the civil service law. For the section 6 naman, it says here that the Supreme Court have the administrative supervision over all courts and the personnel thereof. So, ang pasabot ana very self-explanatory lang man. So, since it is the highest form of court nga, so na sila jud ang mag-oversee sa tanang klase nga mga court. So, sa tanang mga sanga-sanga na nasa ubos sa ilaha.
Now let's proceed to section 7. The Philippine Constitution sets specific qualifications for judges in the Supreme Court and lower courts. For the Supreme Court, a candidate must be a natural-born Filipino, at least 40 years old, and have at least 15 years of experience as a lawyer or judge. For lower courts naman, judge must be a Filipino citizens and members of the Philippine Bar. This kind of requirements ensure that judges have the necessary experience, maturity, and legal expertise to hold such critical position in the judiciary. And let's proceed to section 8. In this section, it states that there is a group called Judicial and Bar Council or JBC. It consists 7 members. The first is the Chief Justice. They are the one who lead. The second is the Justice Secretary. They recommend candidates for judicial position and assess candidates' qualification, including their academic background. The third is Congress Representative. They are representative. They also help evaluate candidates' qualification. The fourth one is Law Professor. They evaluate candidates' legal knowledge and also they provide law insights about their understanding. The fifth is Retired Justice. They evaluate the candidates based on the experience total kay nakakuha naman sila, naka-experience naman sila. And the sixth is the Private Sector Representative. They ensure the selection process is fair. Sila yun ang nag-ensure ana. And the last one is Lawyer Representative. These 7 members work together to select qualified candidates to become judges. They review application, assess qualification, and recommend nominees to the President.
Okay, so to add something no sa gipang-ingon ni April, so if anyone is wondering, so kung naay Judicial and Bar Council nga mo ay muhimo og mga listahan sa mga nominees or sa mga candidates para sa sa korte, then kinsa pod ang responsible nga mohimong listahan para mahimo ang Judicial and Bar Council. So it is actually the constitutional body called the Commission on Appointments, which is the governing body nga mo'y naga-restraint sa president nga when it comes to their political appointments. Mo ang kanang stop or ga monitor sa ilaha by that time nga murag lahi ra, nawa sa pasi ang ilang mga ginapampili nga candidates. Sila ang moingon nga stop ka muna kay murag dili pud na qualified ang imong gusto pilion. kani nga mga listahan mo ni pili para makahimo ka ani nga council. So although nasa president ang final authority, nagyapon ang main assistants no sa kani commission and appointments. And then it goes the same sa kanang sa pili na jud og judges mismo. So ang pilian sa president ana sa listahan ra pud nga gihatag sa Judicial and Bar Council. So let us proceed sa mga current members karon sa Judicial and Bar Council. So para sa ang Chief Justice no, syempre automatic na si Alexander Gesmundo kay siya man ang ang current nga Chief Justice sa Pilipinas. And then ginatawag po ng mga automatic na member of ex officio, meaning since wala may lain nga kanang makamit ana nga requirements, sila na automatic na. So napabaday Chief Justice diri sa wala naman, isa lang mana. So si Alexander Gesmundo na jud. And then the next one is si Jesus Crispin Remulla. He is also the Secretary of Justice and then ex-official member na siya. And then the next one is Alan Peter Cayetano. And then siya ang representative gikan sa Senate. Tapos ang representative gikan sa House of Representatives kay si Jervil Luistro. So mga ex-officio member na po na sila, kaya na naman sila sa Congress daan. And then the next one we have Erlinda Piñera Uy. So siya ang member nga gina-represent ang integrated bar. And then the next one is si Nisauro Ferme. He is the one representing the academe. And then the next one is si Jose C. Mendoza, which is the retired justice, meaning nag-retire na sa una, of the Supreme Court. And then the last one is si Jose V. Mejia, which is the member representing the private sector.
I am here to present Section 9 and Section 10. Section 9 is about under the Philippine Constitution, the President has the authority to appoint judges. But this power is not unlimited. The President must choose from the list of qualified candidates. Prepared by the Judicial and Bar Council of GBC, this ensures that appointments are made based on merit rather than personal references, especially for judges for lower courts. The President is required to make appointment within 90 days, so after the position becomes vacant, this time frame ensures efficiency and timely filling vacancies to maintain the smooth operation of the justice system. And for Section 10 is about Section 10 of the Philippines Constitution states that the only salary of the judges is determined by the law and cannot be reduced during their term in office. This means that once a judge's salary is set, it can either be remain the same or it can be increased, but it cannot be lowered. This provision is meant to protect the independence of the judiciary, ensuring that the judges are not influenced by financial pressures or threats that would affect their impartiality in making decisions.
Thank you, Lloyd. Now, let us proceed to the next section, which is the Section 11. This Section 11, it means that judges stay in office as long as they behave well until they turn 70 years old. In this section, it is basically judges are like on a good behavior contract. They can keep their position as long as they're doing their job well, following the law, and not abusing their power. Walang fixed term. Pero once they hit 70 years old, automatic retired na sila. And also, if they become too sick to perform their duties properly, they have to step down. And if they misbehave naman, like being corrupt, biased, or super unprofessional, the Supreme Court has the power to discipline them, it either through punishment like suspension or totally removing them from their job. So, for example, let's say Judge Juan has been serving for 20 years and is known for being fair and honest. He can continue working until he turns 70 as long as okay pa health niya. But if he starts accepting like bribes from criminals or showing favoritism in court, the Supreme Court can investigate and either suspend or fire him kahit na 55 years old pa lang siya. And pwede siya matanggal. And yes, pwede siya matanggal if he's corrupt po. Let's move on section 12. In this section, it is stated that judges cannot take on other government jobs that might confuse or mix up their work. In this section, it is all about avoiding conflict of interest. Judges are expected to be 100% focused on their main job, deciding cases fairly and without bias. They can't take on other government jobs or roles that might confuse their responsibilities or cause bias in their judgment. And the goal in here is to keep their decisions pure and fair without being influenced by any other position they hold. Kasi once may ibang job na connected sa politics or sa law enforcement, it might affect how they decide cases. For example, let's say sa consultant, Judge Anna is invited by the Department of Tourism to work as a consultant for a new tourism law. And yes, nindot good siya paminawon and it fits her skills. But she can't accept it because being a consultant for the government might influence her decisions in court, especially if a case about tourism comes up. Dapat neutral lang siya and focus sa pagiging judge. The next one is, example gyapon siya sa section 12. Kunwari, nag-publish siya libro. For example, let's just say, Judge Mark loves writing and wants to publish a book about famous Philippine criminal cases. As long famous Philippine. Next example for the section 12, yapon. Gusto siya mag-publish og libro. Judge Mark loves writing and wants to publish a book about famous Philippine criminal cases. But makapublish siya og book as long as the book is educational and doesn't reveal confidential court information or show bias toward ongoing cases. And yes, it's fine, but if the book includes personal opinions about cases he is currently handling, bawal siya, yet it could affect fairness and people's trust in his decisions.
Okay, now so let us proceed sa section 13 and then sa section 14. So thank you so much for that, Bernadeth, for explaining the section 11 and then the section 12. So kaning sa PPT, no, as what I have said, simplified lang siya nga version, but what I'm going to say to you is I will try to explain it further. So diri as sa section 13, no, kay basically before magka-conclusion ang naa sa korte, kay it's either mag-consultation na sila in two ways, en banc or division. When you say en banc again, kay katong sila jud tanan ang involved, kay for example dako kay siya nga kaso, so need siya og mas daghan nga parties involved. And then it's either kaduha kung division lang tong between 3, 5 or 7 lang nga justices. Needed na nga consultation before sila magsulat og opinion nila as gikan sa korte. Unya kana nga sulat ma-form na siya into a certification nga pirmahan pod sa Chief Justice. Unya mo na ang ipaagi sa tanan parties nga na-involved ana nga kaso. Ipaagi na siya sa plaintiff ang nagreklamo. Ipagi po na siya sa suspect, which is ang gireklamuhan. So, ganyan na siya. Unya, ang any member nga wala nag-state sa iyang opinion or sa iyahang views about ana nga kaso or nag-abstain sila, they shall explain why. And then, proceed ta no sa section 14. So, according to sa section 14, no decision shall be rendered by any court without expressing therein clearly and distinctly the facts and law on which it is based. So, dili sila pwede nga kanang mo-express lang sa ilahang opinion without basing it on the law itself. So, mo nang isa ka judge nga, deserve na niya makulong. Kay, wala lang. So, dili na siya pwede. Dapat magbase jud sila sa law. Yung dapat ang ilang ingon, imbis ngayon ato kay, okay, deserve ni ngayon ani ang punishment sa iya ha. Kaya according sa atong law, it is not right to violate someone's right about blah blah chuchu, blah blah chuchu. And then, kanang opinion na po na sa isa, opinion na po na sa another, until makakreate sila og conclusion.
Now, the Section 15 of the Judicial Branch of the Government of the Philippines tells us that when someone files a case in a court, the judges are given a deadline to make a decision. The Supreme Court, which is the highest, is given 2 years. The lower collegiate court is given 1 year. And all the lower courts have 3 months. This is to make sure the cases don't take forever to finish. Now, a case is considered ready for judgment once all the needed papers like the final arguments or legal documents are turned in. If muhatag na ang nagreklamo and ang gireklamo sa ilang final legal documents, dira na daw magsugod ang timer sa case. Now, if the court doesn't decide on time, they have to issue a explanation on why. This must be signed by the Chief Justice or the judge and added to the case file. It must also be given to the people involved in the case. So if the deadline passes, the court still needs to finish the case right away and could be held responsible for the delay if it caused problems. So if the delay daw ang kanang kaso, tapos nakakause siya like someone being put wrongly in jail, mahag-accountable ang court sa harm na ilahang na-cause. So, deadlines are very important, Jude. Like for us students, we also have deadlines sa atong mga works, mga assignments, mga projects. But for the court, ang deadline kay to ensure the case moves forward without any unnecessary delays. Okay, this is to add up. When the justice or the judges retire, they immediately get replaced to make sure that the court can keep working without delays. So replacing a retiring judge right away keeps the court system running smoothly and ensures that the justice system is delivered on time. Thank you so much for listening to my report on the Section 15 of the Judiciary Branch of the Government of the Philippines. Now let's proceed to the Section 16, which is reported by Brianna, Vanesse, Escaño.
Now, let us go to another section, which is Section 16. First, let me read to you what is on the PPP. Now, this section means that every year, the Supreme Court must give a report card to the President and the Congress. It tells what the judiciary has done, how many cases were solved, and what still needs work. Now, let me explain it to you even further. Now, this section requires that the Supreme Court submit a judicial report each year. Note, each year within 30 days after Congress begins its regular session. For instance, if the Congress starts on August 1, the report must be submitted by August 31. This report tells the President and the Congress how many cases courts resolved, which court project or upgrades are happening, and how their budget was spent, and the challenges that they have faced. Now, let me give you an example of the 2024 report. Now, the Supreme Court resolved over 4,294 cases with a with a clearance rate of 87% and a disposition rate of 22%. Now, the clearance rate shows how many new cases were resolved compared to those filed, while the disposition rate reflects how many cases were handled out of all existing ongoing cases. Now, as you can see, or as you have listened towards me, is that you can really see where everything is headed and how the case works have been working in 2024. Now, why is it important? Why is giving a judiciary report important? Now, let me tell you. The report ensures transparency, the courts are open about what they do, and accountability, that they must explain how they use their budget and manage the cases. This helps the leaders like the President and the Congress see what's working and where improvements are needed. Now, let me give you another example, a classroom setting that we could all relate. Okay. For example, imagine our classroom. Our class president or clerk is asking the class treasurer or Rennae to submit a report for 30 days after our classes started or after Rennae started to collect the funds. In the report, the treasurer explains where all of our school funds are heading, how much we have spent on our class projects, events, decorations, or supply, and even if there's a little bit money left. By reading this, the classroom president and all of us in the class knows if the money is being used properly and if we need to adjust our plans. That is exactly what the Supreme Court does when it submits its judicial report to the President and to the Congress. It shows where the judiciary resources are going and how well is serving the people. Now, I hope you have understood what I have said and what I have explained.
Okay, no? So, murag gamay na lang jud nga push, gamay na lang jud nga kamang ug mahuman na mo ani nga discussion, and it is really sad to say nga kanang dili ni live, but still I hope you will learn something valuable after we finish this presentation. So kanang much more detailed lang nga explanation about sa structure sa korte. So dili lang na siya Supreme Court and then lower courts. Napa na siya variety. In the Philippines, we have two review courts. Manang mag-review og courts ba. So it includes the Supreme Court and then the Court of Appeals. Kaning Court of Appeals, mo ni siya ang second highest court in the Philippines. And then bukod sa two review courts, we also have two trial courts. So diri natay una regional trial courts, and then ikaduha municipal trial courts, which have many types then, which is municipal circuit trial courts and the metropolitan trial courts. So adto ta sa the Court of Appeals na. So since it is a review court, so it is a review court, so makaingon ta nga na jud siya appellate jurisdiction, which means nga kanang na sila karapatan mo review sa lower courts kung ang giunsa ni paghandle sa lower courts. So dili lang ang Supreme Court, napo dining the Court of Appeals. So ang nakaingon diri it also reviews administrative cases involving the Ombudsman and the Department of Justice, as well as the decisions of government agencies exercising quasi-judicial functions, including the office of the President. So, ganun po siya ang the Court of Appeals. Then, diriya sa Court of Appeals, naatay isa ka presiding justice and then 69 ka associate justices. And then, kani sila, grouped into 23 divisions of 3 justices each. Okay, no? So, proceed ta ninyo sa 2 trial courts na naman, which is actually what we label as the detailed na nga lower courts. So, diba, sige lang tag-ingon og lower courts, pero unsa jud ang naadra. So, since ang higher courts naman, it is revealed nga Supreme Court na siya, and then the Court of Appeals. Supreme Court and the Court of the Appeals. Kaning lower courts, muna ni siya ang number 1. Ang regional trial courts, wherein they are categorized into 13 judicial regions from Luzon to Mindanao. So each province in these judicial regions has RTC branches. So kanino sa matong province diriya? Usually Davao del Norte, Davao de Oro. So kita kani nga mga provinces nani mga RTC branches or mga regional trial courts. So the next type of trial court is also called the municipal trial court. So kung naay regional trial courts, napay mas babaan na, which is ang municipal trial courts, which is according to RIA, they have jurisdiction over municipalities or towns. Pero napod ni siya variety. Kay if 2 or more municipalities are covered by a municipal trial court, then it becomes a municipal circuit trial court. So ang next variety is in the cases of the cities in Metro Manila, the municipal trial courts become referred as metropolitan trial courts. So, ganon po siya. So, karon dako na sadta sa mga specialized nga korte sa Pilipinas. The type of courts wherein it is used for specific purposes. So, ang first nga example, no, kay we have the Sandigan Bayan. So, according to RIA, it is a one specialized court that hear cases involving violations committed by public officials, excluding, meaning walay appeal, ang President, Vice President, Supreme Court Justices, and the Ombudsman. So, ang iyang mga target kay public officials except sa katong mga na-mention ako. So, ang mga kaso ani, it relates to crimes such as graft, and then corruption, bribery and plunder, among others. So, diriya said no, it is composed of 1 presiding justice and 14 associate justice. So, the next type of specialized court, kay we also have the Court of Tax Appeals. Diriya, it hears cases concerning tax collection. So, very simple lang siya. This court also hear cases on real estate properties such as lands and establishments, as well as trade fees and fines. So, ano siya, all in all, about tax collection and then about real estate properties. Kay if naay korte nga para sa kaning mga inani nga crimes, napoy korte nga ang concern kay kani nga mga types of topic, or kani nga mga types of issues rather. And then it consists of 1 presiding justice and then 8 lang ka associate justices. Kani nga mga kinds of courts kay napoy intended sa certain nga certain nga mga people. So, for Muslim people, na ay korte nga nakalaan para sa ilaha, which is for the Islamic law or Sharia, kay na sila Sharia district courts, and then napod sila Sharia circuit courts. So, SDCs o SCCs. So, kanino ang jurisdiction ani nga mga courts kay ga-follow or it encompasses the arm or what we call the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao and selected provinces in Mindanao such as Lanao del Norte, Sultan Kudarat, and Cotabato Province. So sa SDCs sa Sharia district courts kay ang judicial power nila kay equivalent siya sa regional trial courts, meaning province-based. And then sa SCCs naman or Sharia Circuit Trial Court or Circuit Court rather, ang ilang judicial power kay equivalent siya sa MCTCs, possessing jurisdiction over more than one municipality. Thank you everyone.